2023 had a lot of ups, but it also had a lot of downs, and by downs I mean a lot of bad movies. And I'm here to tell you which ones I think are the worst. Hello my little filmer dudes, my name is Ivan Montero, and thank you for joining me in my journey to watch every movie ever. Not really, but we are gonna get close. Oh my gosh. The movies. The year started out kinda rough, and I mean it only got bumpy throughout the year. We had some really good top movies, and we ended with a pretty solid, I think, selection of movies, which, where were they throughout the year? But we're not talking about the best movies, but throughout the year we had a lot of rough movies. Now, I will preface to say that there is one movie that you guys are just going to hate that is on my dishonorable mentions list, and I already made my review, and then I made my retribution, and now I'm here to make my reclaim. So, for my dishonorable worsts, we have The Haunting in Venice, the Super Mario Bros. Movie, Shazam! Fury of the Gods, Candy Cane Lane, and She Came to Me. The only reason why that She Came to Me is not in the actual worst 10 of 2023 is because I actually walked out of the movie because I just couldn't do it. I didn't want to do it. I really do think She Came to Me is likely to be the worst movie of 2023 just because of its subject matter. I don't know. I hate this movie so much, but because I didn't get to, see the rest, I think I walked out maybe 1/3 of the way through. I really don't know. I could see where I was going, and I was bored, and I hated everything that I was watching. Nothing made sense. I just hated. Whoever wrote the movie because they didn't want to pay for therapy. I said it. Candy Cane Lane was way too long for its own good. It was fine, but it's so insanely long. Like 2.5 hours? Too long. Way too. 2 hours is too long. It just needed to be 1.5 hours, and it drags itself to the point of unbearable. Shazam! Fury of the Gods, I don't really need to speak anything more. I could just say it's the name Shazam! Fury of the Gods, and you guys understand why it's bad. At least if you've seen the movie, that is. The Super Mario Bros. Movie has one of the worst stories I've seen in animation ever, and honestly, I understand the hype because it is the Easter egg movie, but I don't like it. And I never really play the games, so I understand that this movie is not for me, and because it's not for me, that's why I gave it the rating. I don't like it, and that's my opinion. You can like it, that's for you, but I don't think there's a good storytelling at all. Not good cinema. I think it's beautiful cinematically and visually. It's just not good storytelling. And then in Haunting in Venice, I guessed all of the twists, and I literally mean all of them. With the kids, with the adults, all of them. Such a boring movie. So starting off our list at number 10 is actually one that I saw on a lot of people's lists, which, I mean, hey, I guess we all unanimously agree that this movie is the 10th worst movie of the year, and that is Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny. Here's what I say about this movie. I think the concept of the movie, I think it's actually fine. What I don't like is that we added that type of story with Indiana Jones. I don't understand this need, this craving, the yearning to turn our childhood heroes into a depressed lump, only to have them, re-triumph. But the thing is, we've already seen them triumph so greatly. I don't know what the problem is. Letting our heroes end off on a high note, I don't understand. It's Indiana Jones, Luke Skywalker, even the Monk movie did this with Monk. It's just unnecessary. They're really good story concepts. We just don't want to see them with this. Plus, what I also say is that we already saw this movie in Logan. We don't need an Indiana Jones version of Logan. We don't. We didn't. It looks pretty, but it's not good. Phoebe Waller-Bridge's character, very, very bad. I don't know, man. I just think this movie isn't good. Then at number 9, we have Silent Night. Holy cow, is this movie just awful. I don't really know the background about this movie. All I know is that this movie was a short film, and honestly, it should have stayed as a short film. This movie is also way too long for its own good. It's only 1.5 hours, but that's the thing. It's only 1.5 hours, but it's so long. It is so insanely boring. I really wanted to walk out because I was just done, but I really wanted to see this movie. I had hopes for it, but those hopes were dashed. From an art perspective, I can totally see why everything is silent. You really don't need words to convey feelings and emotion and message. The only thing is again, this movie is just way too long. Either write it better or keep it as a short film, because there's no reason whatsoever for this movie to be as long as it is. In number 8, we have Asteroid City. This is another one where I was kind of excited to see, only because it is Wes Anderson, and I'm always interested to see what he has to offer. And what he had to offer this time is not good. It's pretty much half-baked. The second act comes pretty much halfway through the movie, which is insane. And then the third act happens right as the movie's ending. It's a wild mess, and this movie has 0 point, and I think there is a message to it, and I had to look it up. Wes Anderson miscommunicated what he was trying to say, because he was trying to be all artful and inventive and whatever, but you know, sometimes you can be too creative. When you're too creative, it's not good. You gotta know when to stop, man. You gotta know when to stop, and he did not, and so for that, he gets a 5. Asteroid City is a 5. In number 7, we have Strays. Now, I know some people like this movie, but I did not. I like dog movies, so maybe that's why. I just don't think I enjoyed seeing this type of movie, a raunchy movie with dogs. And I never planned to see this movie, but it was free on Peacock, so I decided, why not? And when I saw it, that's why not. The movie is just unfunny. I didn't think it was funny at all. I know some people do think it's funny, but I don't necessarily appreciate this type of raunchy, violent movie with dogs, and I don't really like the ending at all either. It's just too much of a bad thing is what this movie feels like to me. It might be your type of thing, but it's just atrocious in my opinion. So it just gets a 5. I might even give it lower the more I think about it, so I'm not gonna even think about it. So in number 6, we have Spy Kids Armageddon. I was really excited for this because it's another Spy Kids movie. Spy Kids were my life growing up. But if you see this movie, you'd be confused to think that maybe J.J. Abrams directed this movie, because it is a complete ripoff of the first one, just watered down and done differently with more diversity. It's dumb. AKA The Force Awakens. What? Spy Kids Armageddon, though, can be a fun time for the little kids. I don't see it ever being a fun time for anyone older than like 7, 8 maybe. It's just insanely cheap, insanely cheesy, and you can obviously tell when and where the money was spent for the movie. It's not good. Some VFX are shockingly well, and then others are yikes. You should have put less money over there and put it over here. But in the end, Spy Kids Armageddon makes me feel bad most for Gina Rodriguez, because I think she's hilarious and she does pull a lot of weight in this movie, but it just makes me wonder, why is she in this movie? Stop being the next Jessica Alba, Gina Rodriguez. You are better than this. Now, halfway through the list, coming in at number 5 with a 4.5 is Aquaman and the Lost Kingdom. I'm gonna be honest, I fell asleep just a little bit throughout watching this movie because it is so boring. It is jumbled beyond belief. From the minute it starts to the second it ends, you just have no idea what this movie was trying to do and trying to be, because it changes genres on you. It doesn't ever pick a lane. I think it's because it's trying to please everybody, and that's the problem. If you look up who wrote this movie, it's a lot of people. A lot of people wrote this movie. Why are there a lot of people writing this movie? One of those people was Jason Momoa. Why are we letting him do this? This movie was so bad that I don't even want Jason Momoa to be Lobo anymore. That's how bad this movie is. That's how bad Aquaman 2 has become. I didn't even really like the first one, to be honest. I think the first one is also written awfully, but this one is just a really tough pill to swallow, and to the point where I think it just upchucks itself. It is just really bad. It's unwatchable in my opinion. Coming in at number 4 is another completely unwatchable movie, and that is Disney's Wish. This one is especially sad because you can see the ginormous potential for what this movie could have become, and then when you hear about the rumors that this movie almost was and that what it should have been, it's just even more frustrating, because this movie could have been the movie, at least one, well, it wouldn't have beat out Across the Spider-Verse. It It would not have. But it had the potential to be at least a number 2, number 3 animated movie of the year. But Disney, instead of doubling down on what they are, they decided to appease, and I hate using this term, but the woke crowd. And it is literally an insanely disgusting movie to watch because it has no footing whatsoever. It is just agenda after agenda after agenda after agenda, and it's so insanely obvious. The music is horrifyingly ripped from Disney past. This movie has zero identity of its own either. I know it's trying to do homage, but come on. It's so bad, and I'm just not even gonna go into it because I just don't want other people. Listen, I loved Asha. I think she herself was pretty fun. She herself was great. Ariana DeBose is wonderful, and I think she herself sang beautifully. And I think it's criminal because Asha is a fantastic character, and I think she is deserving of her own movie. It's just that Wish isn't her own movie. It is every other person's movie except for her own movie, and I absolutely hate it. This movie, it was just frustrating. I was very excited to sit down to watch it, and then it just kept going just downhill with every single passing second. In number 3, we have what I would consider one of the worst MCU movies, but also one of the worst superhero movies of all time, and that is Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania. I think this movie just has a lot of negative things on top of one solid good thing, and that solid good thing is a good concept. And that's the problem with a lot of these movies. A lot of these movies feel like concepts and that they're not fully fleshed out, or they could have all at least done a couple more weeks of brainstorming and researching. Because listen, this movie, Ant-Man 3, is so bad. I honestly didn't really like Jonathan Majors' performance in Loki season 1, so I don't really understand everyone's praise about his performance in Ant-Man 3. I thought his performance in Ant-Man 3 was insanely silly. Yeah, I thought it was silly. Sure, he got a little terrifying when he got angry towards the end of the movie, but at the same time, the silliness from before just made him seem childish and silly. He seemed like a really bad version of Kylo Ren, and I love Kylo Ren. I love the psychology behind it. At least Kylo Ren in the first 2 movies. The last movie, that was... we don't talk about that one. But Ant-Man 3, holy cow. I think Catherine Newton is completely miscast as Cassie Lang. I think she was one of the things that really brought the movie down. I think Jonathan Majors was also one of the things that brought the movie down. Michelle Pfeiffer was probably the only good thing in this entire movie, but the writing was terrible. The VFX, awful. I even showed this movie to somebody because they didn't believe that this movie could be that bad, and I said, no, we're watching it now then. You're going to endure the pain, and the pain we endured. And he ended up agreeing with me, so there you go. And number 2, we have A White Man Can't Jump 2023. Now, I decided I was gonna watch a movie that I knew was bad so that I can have, you know, a more extensive list of not just movie theater movies, but streaming movies, but also movies that are not just good, but also bad. But holy cow, I didn't know what I was getting myself into. It's to the point where I kind of blocked a lot of this out because it's so bad. The dialogue is shockingly awful. It's very amateur in my opinion, and that's another shocking fact because the person who wrote this is the person who created and wrote a lot of the episodes of Blackish, and Blackish is insanely hilarious, but this movie is insanely not. It is so wildly unfunny, and it is very much deserving of a 3 rating, but also the second worst movie of this year. And finally, in number 1, in the worst movie spot of 2023, we have Freelance, starring John Cena and Alison Brie. Holy cow. I mean, what was I to expect with a John Cena movie? I was to expect something a little bit better because of Alison Brie. However, that was not the case, and that will never be the case with Freelance, because Freelance, for the longest time, it had a 0% on Rotten Tomatoes until it hit streaming, and now has like a 16 maybe at the time of this recording, but it is so bad. I gave it a 1. There are no characters in this movie because the characters have no identity. The dialogue, I think a 12-year-old actually wrote this movie, and if you see who wrote this movie, they have like no movie credits whatsoever. They've just wrote a lot of jokes for talk shows, and you can definitely tell a lot of these jokes a lot of this writing is just stuff that is replicated from other movies. Like, for example, the journalist in this movie doesn't act like a journalist. She just acts like a dumb damsel in distress. Like, she has no agency whatsoever at all. And we're to believe that she's some award-winning journalist? Hell no. And then John Cena should stop acting. That's it. That is it. That is my entire review of Freelance. It is so bad and a waste of everyone's time. Well, that is it. Those are the worst movies of 2023. I am actually pretty selective with my movies, so if I went out to see these movies, I went out because I wanted to see these movies. However, I know there are probably worse movies than these. I don't think there's a worse movie than Freelance. I mean, I don't want you to go see Freelance so that you can prove my point. Please don't watch Freelance. This is just unbearably bad. So bad. But once again, I know there are worse movies out there, but I am selective. So if the poster or if the trailer does not seem good, I'm just like, no, thank you. But all in all, these are the movies that I thought were pretty much the worst, or ones of the worsts in the year 2023. What is your list? Let me know in the comments below. My social media links are in the description below. Like this video if you liked it, subscribe if you want to see more, and I am excited to see what 2024 has in store for all of us, honestly. Once again, my social media links are in the description below, and I will see you next time. You've just been Montified.